The days after our argument were slow and tentative, as if Ray and I were walking on a frozen lake, testing each step for cracks. The wounds left by our words hadn't disappeared, but they had softened into something we were learning to confront together. For me, a Pisces with a heart that craved connection and understanding, this wasn't just about repairing what was broken. It was about discovering a new way forward. One evening, as I settled into my couch with a book, a soft knock sounded at the door. I opened it to find Ray standing there, holding a small bouquet of wildflowers. The vibrant petals looked slightly rumpled, as though he had clutched them too tightly on the way over.
"I know these are your favorite,"
he said with a sheepish smile.
and I thought, maybe we could talk?
The sight of him, vulnerable and sincere, melted something in me. I stepped aside, motioning him in, the lavender-scented candles I had lit earlier filling the air with their calming aroma. I took the flowers from him, my fingers brushing his briefly, and placed them in a small vase on the kitchen counter. "Let's talk," I said softly, hope trembling beneath my words. We sat on the couch, the space between us both physical and emotional. I cradled a steaming cup of tea in my hands, the warmth seeping into my palms as I waited for him to speak. Ray fidgeted nervously, his eyes fixed on the edge of the coffee table.
"I've been thinking a lot about what you said,
He began, his voice measured and serious.
about how you feel things so deeply, and how you need to be understood, not fixed. I know I haven't always been good at that, but I want to be. I want to understand you better, Joelle."
His words wrapped around me like a balm, soothing the ache that had lingered since our fight. "It's not easy for me either," I admitted, my voice quieter now. "I know I can be overwhelming sometimes, and I don't always communicate in ways that make sense to you. But I think we can find a middle ground, if we're both willing to try." Ray nodded, his expression earnest.
"I am. I don't want to lose what we have, Joelle. You've shown me a world I didn't know existed, a way of feeling and seeing things that's so different from how I think. And I don't want to let that go just because it's not easy."
A tear slipped down my cheek, but this time it wasn't from sadness. It was from relief, from gratitude. "Me neither," I said, a small smile breaking through my tears. From that night on, something shifted between us. It wasn't a perfect transformation. There were still moments of frustration, still times when we stumbled. But we both made the effort. Ray started listening more, even when my thoughts were abstract or tangled in emotion. He didn't try to solve everything. Sometimes, he simply sat with me in the discomfort, offering his presence instead of solutions. And I worked on meeting him halfway, finding ways to ground my feelings in language he could better understand. It wasn't about changing who we were. It was about learning to bridge the gap between us, one step at a time. One Friday evening, as we shared a quiet dinner at my apartment, Ray leaned back in his chair, a satisfied smile on his face.
"You know,"
he said, his tone teasing,
"I think we're getting pretty good at this relationship thing."
I laughed, setting down my fork. "Don't jinx it." He grinned.
"Fair point. But seriously, I feel like I'm starting to understand you better. And even when I don't, I want to keep trying. You're worth it, Joelle."
My heart swelled at his words, and I reached across the table to take his hand. "And I feel the same way about you. You've shown me that love doesn't have to be perfect to be real. It just has to be honest." Later that evening, we moved to the couch, the city lights outside casting a faint glow through the window. My head rested on Ray's shoulder as we talked about our future, the conversation flowing easily between dreams and plans. "Speaking of understanding," I said with a mischievous smile, "I've been thinking about something." Ray raised an eyebrow, his expression wary but amused.
Uh-oh, should I be worried?
"Maybe a little," I said, laughing. "So I was reading about this retreat in Bali. It's all about mindfulness, meditation, and connecting with nature. I think it would be amazing for us to go together." Ray groaned dramatically, running a hand through his hair.
"Joelle, I love you, but meditation retreats are not my thing. You know that."
"I know," I said, nudging him lightly with my elbow. "But think of it as an adventure. Plus, I promise not to drag you into too many yoga classes." He sighed, his expression softening.
You're going to be the death of me.
I grinned, leaning up to kiss his cheek. "But you love me anyway." He smiled, pulling me closer.
I do, even when you give me headaches.
As I leaned into him, the warmth of his embrace grounding me, I felt a deep sense of contentment. Our relationship wasn't perfect, but it was real. And for me, that was enough. Love, I realized, wasn't about avoiding conflict or chasing some unattainable ideal. It was about finding beauty in the messiness, the effort, and the growth. And as Ray held me close, I knew we had found something worth holding on to.